a sense of welcoming, a sense of allowing, particularly the people trying to get into the Sangha room. So gathering quietly, making sure the doors are closed properly so that the insects don't come in, making sure that the place is settled, that the heart is settled, and allowing recognizing the well-wishing that life is, a sensitive well-wishing, a gift received and given back. In this human form, this opportunity, and settling and gathering in safety and trust. In this appreciation, in this knowing, in this stillness, in this allowing and receiving life gathered and collected, sensitive and still. All the time, all the space, this now, this here, this time, this place. There's this much. reconnecting, recollecting, recollecting this experience, this life, this knowing, this stillness. And that sensitivity is able and present to be with this, bear with this, and transforming energy of giving life to life. In this knowing, this recollection that life wishes itself well, depends on kindness, can give the space, give the time in this here and now. The stresses and strains to end, knowing where they end, knowing the ending, realizing through knowing this is limitation, this is the imperfection, and the knowing is the opportunity to transform, to know where it ends. As this breath, in this knowing, this trust, this capacity and willingness to receive life experience and give care, give attention, in this stillness, with this interest. Through the whole of the sense of being here, the whole of the sense of this present moment, in this time, this space. And this trust, this safety that the experience is as it is and how it is, and can be endured, can even be appreciated. And the interest is in this joy. And the welcoming of life, the knowing, and the space and the silence. Through this limitation, this time, this space, through this life, this particular, and the connection, this limitation, and the connection that rests. We rest in this. Knowing limitation and the imperfection of this bodily experience in this time and space, this place, this now, this here. And this knowing, the knowing where the imperfection ends, when the stresses and strainings aren't. Knowing the end of dukkha, knowing dukkha, the end of dukkha. Wishing well, wishing freedom from compulsion and ignorance. Resting in the knowing and trusting the stillness. And practicing this time and space, this here, this now. A little while ago, I gave a little visit or went to see the family. Some of you, in terms of close family, there's just my mother and my brother and sister, my father. In 2008, when I was in Brazil, he died, and then that was after I'd just seen him. I'd rushed back from Asia to see him, and he encouraged me to go on to fulfill the teaching engagements that I had in Brazil. And this time, a few weeks ago, I went back and visited my mother, my brother, and my sister, and I stayed with them a few days and spoke a lot and spent a lot of time with my mother. As some of you know, after my father died in 2008, I started connecting with her because I asked her old school friend, who had been widowed a few years earlier, what really helped when her husband died. And the widow said that when her husband died, what helped was connection with her children. So from about from when my father died, I then started telephoning and connecting with my mother on nearly a daily basis, which was, for me, strange. For many of you who've, over time, or through your lives, have spent time with your parents, for me, this was a reasonably new experience, daily contact with my mother, because for much of my life, since about the age of 6, I didn't have very much contact with my mother. I was miles away, for various reasons, and communication and connection and gathering was not so easy. So having a daily connection was interesting, I think, for both of us. When we were apart, she didn't really appreciate my letters. They were too short or too untidy. When she wrote to her father, when she was away, they were really neatly written, full of interesting stuff. So maybe she was a little disappointed that my letters were not neat and were not interesting. But I think she did appreciate the daily contact, which kept going from 2008 until about 20 days ago, 25 days ago, 20 days ago. And when she went into hospital, taken into hospital from the home where she was staying. However, when I went to see her, as I say, a few weeks ago, and I had some good conversations with her. As some of you know, she's also attended some of my meditation retreats, a couple. The first one I think she was more interested in, and then I learned how disciplined she could be, because I gave her a book written by two people she knew and had contact with, and it was a sequel to a book that she'd already read. And I gave it to her a day or so before the retreat, and so she put it on her bedside table. And then at the beginning of the retreat, I made the usual sort of talk that one gives at the beginning of a retreat, which is, for some of you, are new. I haven't met you before and you're new to the practice. And then I could say, and some of you have known me all my life. She was sitting in the front on a comfortable chair. She smiled. And I gave the usual sort of talk about not reading anything other than the chanting book and concentrating on being on the retreat, doing the walking and sitting meditation and being up for the 5 o'clock. And she would have been in her 80s then, late 80s. And she did. She was there for all the group meetings, all the morning pujas, all the morning meetings. And at the end of the retreat, I said, very well done. You're very good. You're very peaceful. She was always peaceful. She wasn't nodding off or sleeping. And I said, did you look at the book? She said, no. You said that we shouldn't read. So very disciplined. She just took it home and read it there later. I think it was that retreat that she said that, no, I'm not a Buddhist. I'm not going to be a Buddhist. It's too much like hard work. So that was her. And then she came up. I don't think the second retreat was something she was not so interested in, but I told her she was already booked, so she had to come. So she did. She turned up, and again, she was very diligent, and she was very well looked after. And she a little bit more nervous, I think, that retreat, a little bit less mobile. But some of the things that came up in her life were a sense of regret, a sense of, maybe things should have been better. Maybe I could have done things better. Maybe I did things that were, and worry about, what's going to happen in the future and how is it all going to work out and what's going to happen to my children. And these are the sorts of preoccupations of her mind for most of the conversations over the last few years anyway. As she got weaker and less communicative. And certainly there's a certain amount of fear around being old and vulnerable. So it's the sense of safety is important. But she was happy and settled enough and particular enough about what she could control and what she wanted and how she wanted things, and able to tell people. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was this. This was something that is coming up at the end of the Rains Retreat, because as some of you know, this is towards the last week of the Vasa. And what comes up is the ending of something is always around ending in a good way, ending in a way that one feels one doesn't have anything to carry over or anything to fear or anything to worry about. So in this last visit, I really spoke to her a lot about this and reminded her that she's got nothing to worry about. Children are fine. There's nothing to fear. It's all okay. It's all just peaceful. And this is something that she did settle in and smile in and appreciate in the stillness. I mean, she liked contact with things that she liked, and she liked order around the things that she could control. And the body liked to go through what it needs to do, which is eat and drink. And then the consequences of that have to be dealt with. And rest. And not very much interest in world affairs or this and that, things going up and down. I used to tell her that, you've been through a war, you know that everything can go poof, and you don't know what on earth is going to happen to you or your friends or your relatives or anything. It's just, this is something that you've been through before. It's nothing very new. So, not much interest. And even things like, the Queen's death. I was there for, I think, over that period or over some part of that. I don't know whether it was the death itself or. She was sort of interested. Her name has something to do with it, and it was about the same age. And the point that was useful, I think, for her to acknowledge consciously was about forgiveness and about the sense of, I asked her, do do you feel that you've forgiven everybody? And she said, yes, yes. And then I said, do you feel that you've been forgiven? She said, yes, yes, nothing. And then I said, do you feel you've forgiven yourself? And she said, yes. So with that, I felt sort of reasonably confident that a goodbye was all right. And there's a sense of letting go there. And there's nothing to really be too concerned about. Yes, there's the general tiredness and weariness and aches, pains of the body. And there's a general sense of nervousness and fear around, the body just being injured or anything, and that sense of worry about. But there was a sense of there's nothing really to be concerned about or worry about the past or fear or anticipate about the future. And, if that's, how the thing worked out, I mean, she was admitted to hospital quite quickly, and she was in some pain. She was treated for that pain. She was treated for whatever she had. But she wasn't responding to anything more, and she wasn't taking any more liquids, or the antibiotics were not doing anything. There was some pain, but she wasn't really responding to pain, and she wasn't. She had one dose of morphine somewhere along the way, but after that, she never said she was in pain, so she didn't get any more painkillers. So it was just a peacefulness, and I think there was a wretchedness in the body as the body just continued to decline. Daily, my siblings who visited every day told me that she did respond to them, but the daily decline of the body was very noticeable. But she was well looked after and cleaner and tidy and at peace. So when I heard this morning that she died, sometime, my brother had heard around 5 o'clock or something like that. So that's a letting go, and a sense of peace. And the passing of something, there's a peace. And the passing of something that doesn't have anything to carry over, there's a peace. And the importance of forgiveness is that there's a sense of there's nothing to carry over. The sense of acceptance of whatever karma will be, a sense of ease with that, a sense of trust in that. So not a sense of regret or concern or remorse, because things are the way they are. And if there's a sense of forgiveness in that, then the forgiveness is, I don't wish to carry this forward. So if one feels one has forgiven, then there's a sense of letting go, a sense of peace, a sense of not making a compulsion about, or and then a sense that one has been forgiven, and which is, when Buddhists ask for forgiveness, the sense is, my body, speech, or mind, whatever I have done, intentionally or unintentionally, in public or in private, that has in any way troubled or caused trouble. That's the That's the formula for, part of the formula for asking forgiveness, which is common, that we do a lot. And it's a useful thing to do. There's a community that I visited in Thailand. I don't know whether it still does this, but the community there, after every activity that 2 or 3 people do together, they ask for forgiveness from each other. So if they've been working together at the end of a working session in the office or in the kitchen or on the grounds, they do a sort of bowing and an asking for forgiveness of each other. And this asking for forgiveness is you ask for forgiveness, the junior to the senior, and then the reply that's always given is, I forgive you, you should also forgive me, or please also forgive me. So the feeling is a mutual forgiveness, so that it's not just that it's not somebody from above bestows it on you. And a forgiveness is not about reconciliation. That's a different thing. Reconciliation requires a different level of trust and a possibility for that reconciliation. With forgiveness, it's like a saying, well, I'll put this down. I'm not going to carry it. You can forgive people even if they've they died or whatever. It's not something that they have to actually even receive. So the sense of forgiveness can be something that you can offer for yourself, because in the end, the person that also needs to experience the sense of forgiveness is the sense of, I forgive this one. Because this one is certainly imperfect, and that's something that, one can offer. And so that there's not a sense of worry or concern about this one either. It's not saying that there won't be consequences for actions. It's not denying causality, forgiveness. It's not somehow, saying that there won't be karmic conditions to the actions of body, speech, or mind. That's not what forgiveness is about. It's not sort of wiping the slate clean. There's nothing. It's a sense of this is what I can do. This one is not going to carry it. There will be karmic consequences for every action that's intentional. That's the nature of karma. And some of the karma one will know, and some of the karma one won't know. And some of the karma is made through just the intentional actions of the body, which may not be even incredibly conscious, but have their own rhythm. The body has its own rhythm. There are consequences to actions. Intentional action, fully intentional action, is what humans are best at, and it's what they can do best. That's the gift of this form. That's the gift of this possibility. It's the gift of life as a human. And when it works well, of course, the gift is to bring blessings. It's to allow suffering to be less now and in the future. That's its work. However that works out, in whatever limitation that one finds oneself in, this is what I have to work with. This form, this structure, this past karmic conditioning, this results of past karma. Whatever job one's doing, whatever role one's in, whatever work one is engaged in, paid or unpaid, chores or however it is, this is the results of karma. They can be a bit, it's not necessarily the results of your personal karma. It can be the results of other people's karma, and it can be accidents. There are other causes and conditions, but the one that one has most control over is, the conscious, intentional action. So that's because And that's where a sense of forgiveness one can make conscious. It's like saying, well, personally, for this one, I'm not going to take it personally. I'm not going to make more problems about it. This is the asking of forgiveness that can be done. This, it's making a hosi karma that leads to the end of karma, and that's the karma that's really, really helpful. So the sense at the end of the day that one feels that one's forgiven, one feels that one has been forgiven, one feels that one has forgiven oneself. Well, that's something to work with, and offer, because that's the way that it works out. For my mother, 95, a good enough life, a disciplined enough life, a kind enough life. And certainly I'm grateful for. She really did the best she could within the limitations of what. But that's all any of us can do, isn't it? Do the best we can within the limitations of where we find ourselves. This is the nature of a human life. It's always going to be a bit untidy, because anything that's transformed, it's going to be a bit of a mess. It's not going to be perfect, because that's the nature of dukkha. It's the nature of incompleteness, because you don't find completeness in that which is necessarily incomplete. And anything that's formed, anything that's born, is going to die. Anything that is transformed, there's always going to be some sort of waste or some sort of consequences that will have to be tidied up. And it's never going to be perfect. Leaving no trace is the way of the arahants. But still, even the Lord Buddha couldn't stop anybody from suffering. He could only offer the opportunity for them to stop suffering themselves. And that's something they have to realize for themselves. Another conversation I've been having around this time is this sense of training. Can you train somebody? You can train some things some of the time, but humans, if they work well, if they train themselves, they offer you offer humans the opportunity to train themselves. The teacher teaches their pupils to learn themselves. They have to learn themselves. That's the limitation of being a teacher, isn't it? The pupils have to actually want to and work out how to learn. It's not. You can do the best you can, but you can't make them. And that's something that we have to realize. That we offer the opportunity, and the Buddha offered us the opportunity to train using the Dhamma Vinaya. And that's what we can do. We can accept the offer and give to that. Because that's our opportunity. The training. The teacher can only do the teaching. The pupil has to actually do the learning and the training themselves. You can train an animal, with rewards and punishments somehow. And to a certain extent, humans can do that. And to a certain extent, maybe they have to do that at a very early stage of their life. I don't know about potty training and stuff like that. I can't remember how that worked. I'm told that that's something you actually have to train kids to do. And you don't do it by demonstrating. You do it by figuring it out. But, that's something that, that can be worked out. But, an adult has to want to train itself and work with what is within the limitation of that, and a sense of forgiveness and willing to move on, a sense of letting go, a sense of not making further problems for ourselves or others, doing the best we can so that there's less suffering now and in the future, within the limitation of the form and the gathering together of this in this time and this space, in the recognition that that's as best we can in this time and space. However, whenever this is listened to or watched, is it safe enough? Is it good enough? Is it something that one can use for oneself, to train oneself, to suffer less now and in the future, to feel that there's nothing to worry about, nothing to fear, and no particular place to go. It's just this here, this now, this time, this place, this knowing. So for this evening, that's possibly enough. If there are questions, then fine. I'll see what I can do. I'm not sure how much of this, or whether this talk will actually be posted online for future generations, or just whether it'll be kept for posterity. Figure out for a bit. Thank you. In terms of sharing of merit, the merit that is shared with your parents is actually pretty much automatic. They can't get away from sharing in your blessings because they've given you so much. So, whatever blessings that have been in my life, I share them with my mother and my father and all the teachers that have ever been, through all the lifetimes that have ever been, and through all the parents, the mothers and fathers that I've ever had, which is pretty much everybody, and all the aunts and everybody. So, thank you. Yes, Upeka is always a good thing. Upeka is always good because it allows sensitivity and balance and an acceptance of limitation. But don't let it get into indifference. I'm feeling attached to what is bright and beautiful and virtuous. However, in order to balance this attachment, it is correct for me to cultivate Upeka. Yes. But allow mudita to be there as well. Appreciation is also natural. It's a natural expression if it's possible. And it does lift up the heart. Yes, when you see other ugly behaviors, what you recognize with that is that what you wish with people who do ugly and stupid and violent, and you hear about or you see or you witness, what we do recognize somewhere in there is you really wish that they were enlightened. You really do wish that they were free from all ignorance and greed and hatred. Because really that, and it's also quite selfish, because that would make your life much easier. So, when you see and hear of people, and that people are behaving in ways that are definitely detrimental and causing harm for themselves and others, they are going to be the owners of their karma. They will receive that. That's the way of karma. Even Angulimala, who killed 999 people, he did receive the results of his karma. It wasn't quite the same because he was an arahant, but it is something to recognize. And what you do wish for all beings is that they be free from all suffering, that they are enlightened. That's what the Buddha wished for Angulimala. And he offered the opportunity for him to train himself when he said, "It's I who stopped, not you." And then that sense of stopping is there. What you wish is for you to be free from all greed, hatred, and confusion. And actually you wish that all beings be free from all greed, hatred, and confusion. And yet you recognize that even the Lord Buddha couldn't make that happen. And he had a whole lot more wisdom than this particular one has here and now, in this particular time and space. That's the way. Oh dear. No idea, mate. Udana 110. Bahia. Is that in the scene, that there just be the seen, in the heard, that there just be the heard, in the cognized, that there just be the cognized? Well, that's turning the attention inward, isn't it? It's knowing the knowing. It's not making anything of anything. It's that in the seen, let there just be the seen. In the heard, let there just be the heard. In the cognized, let there just be the cognized. No further proliferation. So it's not anything. Subjectless, objectless. There's no going forward, there's no going back, and there's no standing still. You can't go forward, and you can't go backwards, and you can't stand still. I think that's also one of the udanas in the 80s. So, where is that? Where you can't go forward, and you can't go backwards, and you can't stand still. Going forwards is into the objects. Going backwards is into the subject. Standing still, not even there. Thank you for all your condolences. And do share your blessings with my mum. Everybody needs all the help they can get. And you don't get any less blessings by sharing blessings. It's not like sharing your sweeties or your piece of cake. You get more blessings by sharing blessings. So thank you for remembering her.